Welcome back to Pro Football Addiction. I've got Antoine Staley on with us today, Jets beat writer and columnist for the New York Daily News. Antoine, how you doing, bud?
I'm good. Nice to see you and talk to you again. It's been a long time.
Dude, for real. Yeah, for those that maybe don't know, Antoine covered Florida State at one point. I do a lot with FSU and I'm up there a lot, so it's cool to kind of circle back and run back into you doing some stuff with the Jets now, and it's been cool to watch. Give everybody your Twitter handle. We were just talking about this too. A really good follow on social media and Twitter if you just want to keep up with not just the Jets but everything going on in the NFL.
Just Antoine Staley, just my name. ANTWANSTALEY on Twitter and all social media platforms for that matter.
Yeah, no, for sure, it's good stuff. I waste way too much time on Twitter, so I don't do anything else.
Well, I'm on there for work too, so I definitely understand
No,
as well. You go
yeah.
down that rabbit hole.
Yeah, I can't be getting. I can't be killing time on Instagram. I'll never look away from my phone. So obviously, the big news: the Jets hire Aaron Glenn. What's the immediate reaction to that? Is the mood excitement? There's always excitement when there's a new coach, but is it excitement? Is it wait and see? Like, what's the mood around the hire from the fan base?
I think it's split. I think the fan base, so a lot of them love it because Aaron Glenn was a former Jet, was drafted there. Bill Parcells' disciple, made two Pro Bowls there with the Jets too as well. Before being available for the Texans in the expansion draft. So I definitely think it is a hire that I think some fans are excited about, but I think others are not, simply because I think it reminds them of too many hires that's happened in the past. Whether you talk about Robert Saleh, who they fired in October, or Todd Bowles, who's now in Tampa Bay. Even before him, Rex Ryan. Yeah, I think they've been going after defensive coordinators for a long time, and I definitely think that Jet fans wanted to see something new, maybe an offensive guy, whether it be, I've heard names like John Gruden, you talk about Cohen for the Bucks now going to Jacksonville. So it's been a lot of names that's kind of been thrown out there. Joe Brady is another name that I think some fans wanted to look at as well. But at the end of the day, I thought this was the Jets' number one target, just simply because he has familiarity in that building and people know who he is still, whether it be from his playing days or also being a scout within the organization, which I think is rare for a coach to do that, to start at the ground bottom, being just a regular scout, and then now it ended up gravitating towards assistant coach and now head coach.
It is a cool story, right? Like, it is cool that he played there, was a scout there, coming back home. I mean, who knows? Like, with NFL coaching hires, like
Yeah.
who knows how things are going to work out? And I'm not going to have you predict that or oversee the fire on that, because it feels like such a crapshoot. Like, Liam Cohen is such a big name. He could go to Jacksonville and be gone in 2 years. Like,
Correct.
you just never know. But you did mention that. I think what stood out is that they went back with a pretty proven defensive coordinator, somebody that Campbell was super high on and had super great things to say about him from the podium. But they have done this before. Is there something about him outside of just the fact that he was there and there's a familiarity? Is there something there that's different than just his familiarity between maybe him and Salah, or maybe some of these guys that haven't worked out?
I think it's just, from what I understand, just talking with people in Detroit and there's other people that have been around him, whether in various organizations, whether it was with the Saints or Browns. He's a guy that's a culture builder. And then I think you're starting to see that more and more. NFL owners want more culture builders as coaches and leader. People throw around the term leader of men, but just, especially if you're a team like the Jets that's been down for so long, that you want somebody that can just lift up the culture that's like a losing culture that's been down for so long. Whether you talk about, a guy like Dan Campbell and, what he was able to do with Detroit there. And I think the Jets saw that and thought, okay, if Aaron Glenn helped play the role in that, then, why can't he do this here, especially a place that he's familiar with? So I think that's something that the Jets looked at too. Also, obviously, his defensive philosophy is there. A lot of people look at the numbers and they may not be great, but there's a lot of context in regards to that, especially this year where, you end up having 12 defensive players on IR. It's kind of hard to win that way when,
Yeah.
you're doing that. And then despite that, they still finished seventh in scoring defense this year, which I think is, applaud that he was able to do the job well despite all the injuries. So I think, you factor both of those things in. And I think that's why I think I think people are optimistic about what Aaron Glenn could potentially do with the Jets.
So another big Aaron that you can't do something like this and not mention is Aaron Rodgers, and certainly up and down. This year coming off the injury last year, there was so much hype, there was so much excitement. It honestly just hasn't lived up. Now there's a lot wrong around Aaron Rodgers too that needs to be
Yeah.
fixed. So I'm not necessarily putting it all on him, but how do you think that situation is handled? Is there a chance we were talking a little off air, but is there a chance they keep him? Do you think that this is probably, or very little chance? Like, what do you think ends up happening with Aaron Rodgers?
Is there a chance they could keep him? Yeah. I mean, obviously, when you got a guy that you need a bridge quarterback at some point, somebody that can just, he can hand off to the younger guy, whether it be Jordan Travis, who's already on the roster, or somebody else. So I think they're going to look for that. But I think the percentage of that happening is probably like, I guess, 20%, because there's a lot that comes with Aaron Rodgers. I mean, he is a guy that comes with a lot of baggage. He talked about years ago about, the Jets need to get all the BS out the building that has nothing to do with football. But he's part of that too, whether it be going on McAfee or doing, book or the Netflix series or whatever the case may be. He comes with a lot. And I don't know if a first year head coach, along with a first year general manager that's going to come with the Jets, it seems like, wants to deal with somebody that, comes with that much baggage, especially when you're trying to, create a new change in the organization. Yeah, I think they could keep him, but I have a hard time believing that they will ultimately. So I think it's going to be probably Tyrod Taylor. Jordan Travis is probably figuring that. They gave him he basically redshirted this year just to get healthy. So him, Tyrod Taylor, and probably some other veteran, I'm guessing, that'll be with the organization. And then Aaron will probably go somewhere else if he chooses to still want to play and possibly play for another organization. Maybe a team like the Raiders, who are also looking for a backup. I mean, not a backup, but a bridge quarterback as well.
Yeah, all those cameras and all the media and all the interviews, that works if you're LeBron James. When you're when the success isn't there
Correct.
and things around you are not going well. And you mentioned culture, like trying to maybe replicate what, like you said, Dan Campbell did in building that culture. That's really hard to do with holdovers, right? Like we see that so often in college. Like
Exactly.
with the portal, like you just want to flip a roster. You just want to,
Yeah.
hey, get my guys in here. And I mean, Aaron still, I think, got gas in the tank, but is he
Yeah.
really what's best long term? Like they're not on the verge of competing next
No.
year, and so why would you keep the holdover? When
And an
you're
older quarterback and an older
an
guy
older guy, like
he's
build
not the
up,
same
see
that he
what you
used to
got in
be.
Jordan, see what you got in another guy, see what and then go from there. So
Yeah, exactly. I think I was just going to say real quick. Yeah, I think 25 for them should just be seeing who could be with the organization long term. It shouldn't always, although people are going to look at wins and losses, and obviously, you want to make the playoffs, but, it's about building your foundation for a year. And then, the next year, kind of like what happened in Detroit, then you start to make the climb. Detroit ended up going from 3 wins in Dan Campbell's first year and, Aaron Glenn's the 9 wins their second year, and then the next year went to 12, and then in 2024 went to 15 wins. So they're making that steady climb. I think that's what you want to do if you are part of an organization like that.
yeah, I hear that Mike Norvell climb reference coming out of you still. So,
Yeah, I love Mike. I love Mike. So although I know a lot of people at FSU don't necessarily right now.
what I'm still a Mike fan. I'm still hoping.
I am too.
But you mentioned GM. Do you I know that we're on a second interview that's taking place. Like, do you feel like they're closing on their guy? We even talked like it might happen yesterday when we were kind of talking before setting this up. Do you think they're close?
Yeah, I think that'll happen in the next couple of days or so. It seems like they're down to 3 guys there. Trey Brown from Cincinnati Bengals, he's kind of not their kind of de facto assistant GM manager as well. You talk about Lance Newmark, who's also with the Lions too as well. He brought him in for a second interview as well, and then Darren Mobley, who's also the Broncos assistant general manager. So it's going to be one of those 3 guys that's going to get the job, and I expect that to happen whether it be on Friday or also on Saturday. It'll be some kind of name that'll be filled, and I expect they have a press conference with both of those guys next week.
Do you have a gut? Do you have a late? If you were making the pick, who would you pick today? Who are you hiring, Antoine?
I probably would. I probably would go with Trey Brown just because he has familiarity in different organizations there. When he started out with a scout with the Patriots there, I've heard some few things about him Bengals wise that he's a very intelligent guy. that's gotten interviews for GM jobs before, and it seems like a lot of people think he's ready to take that next step. And also, the Bengals, another team that was down in the dumps for a little while. He's part of that, and has seen their resurgence with Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase. And again, if you're the Jets, that's what you're trying to mirror, those teams that have been down for so long, but all of a sudden now they're players in the AFC or just the NFL in general.
Yeah. Last thing I'll ask you, what about thoughts on filling out a staff? I know that might be, the hire just happened, but
Yeah.
thoughts on, do you think how well do you think he can fill out a staff? Do you have any expectations around it?
Yeah, I mean, I think he has connections dating back to when he was in New Orleans with Sean Payton there. So you can see a guy like Darren Rizzi who has, experience being a special teams coach, whether it be in Miami or New Orleans, or he was their interim coach this year after they fired Dennis Allen. So that could be a possibility for special teams. As far as offense and defense, I think offensive end, you kind of look at a guy like Mark Brunell, who's their the Lions quarterback coach there. So I definitely think you could see that. It'll be interesting to see if Aaron Glenn wants to continue calling plays. I imagine he probably wants to be more of a CEO type of role there. So you may see, Dennis Allen. He has some familiarity with him too, dating back to New Orleans. So that could be also a name that could be thrown out there too as well.
Antoine, where can people follow you? Where can they get more of your content, read your work, and get more of what you got going on with the Jets?
At the New York Daily News or nydailynews.com on the web. Also follow me at Twitter and all at what it's called now, all social media platforms at Antoine Staley too as well.
Awesome, man. I appreciate you for taking some time and hanging out.
Yeah, no problem.